Today, I'm creating the ultimate YouTube studio. Going from rotting shed to something truly amazing. Let's go. But before building anything, I think we should probably talk requirements. You see, I have a few requirements for this office. The first one being I have to be able to work in it from home on a day-to-day basis, as well as have it as a YouTube studio. I need to be able to split it down the middle and have enough space to comfortably do both jobs. Right now, in the space that I'm in, it's difficult to be able to do that. It's simply too small, and having the lights and camera always set up is just too cramped. I have to be able to work in it all year round as well. It has to be nice and cool in the summer and nice and warm in the winter. And perhaps most importantly, this should all happen for under £20,000. Now we've got the requirements out of the way, let's talk about the two styles of building that I could have chosen. The first one is a summer house. This in essence is a glorified shed. They tend to be incredibly cheap to build and can usually be built yourself. These sound like great value for money until you realise that generally these aren't insulated, and it's sort of in the name that a summer house can only really be used in the summer. It's also a lot of upkeep. Being wood, it needs treating every couple of years and tends to have a shorter lifespan than a different style of building that we're going to talk about now. The second style of building is a garden house. These are generally a lot more expensive. You're looking at £15,000 to £16,000 for the style that I'm looking for here. Normally when you buy them, you'll have a team come in and install it for you. These are normally fully insulated and built using plastics and metal materials. So they tend to last a lot longer, will be fully insulated, and actually will probably be warmer than my actual house during the winter, which is a little bit scary. With the requirements in mind, there really was only one option, and that was the garden room. As noted, they are generally quite expensive, and I did a lot of research and came across one company who I think are going to do it the best. That is Eurocell. The model that I chose is 3.76 by 3.15 metres in size. That is about the same internally as the shed that is currently there, though of course it will be in much better nick. So I had the team come round, work out whether they could actually get the thing through my house, worked out exactly what we needed to do in terms of removing the old one, putting in some ground pins and getting the thing built. Once I was happy, I was given the price, and it was a slightly bitter pill to swallow at around £16,000. I'll put the exact price and breakdown on the screen now for you. So let's get designing. I knew straight away that I wanted a darker look, so I went with this slate grey design on the outside. I also wanted as few doors and windows as possible. Mainly because I was using this as a recording studio, I wanted to be able to control the lighting myself without the interference of outside light. So I went with this bifold French door, which was pretty simple. It's going to be sat on one side of the property, allowing me to work from home in that side of the property, getting some natural light in, while blocking off the majority of the natural light in the other side where the YouTube recording is going to be taking place. Design signed off and install date booked in for the 9th of December, I was up against it. Realistically, I had 3 weeks to get rid of what is currently there and prepare the space for this new office. This was actually quite a large undertaking. It took around 3 days worth of just clearing stuff out, knocking things down, including walls and other gardening. This was a long old process, but I'm so glad it was done because actually, it made my garden feel a lot bigger than it was. As is always the case with these kinds of projects, things don't always go to plan. You're probably noticing that we appear to have made a few holes in our fence. We had quite a bad storm a couple of days ago, and it's basically taken out half the fence panels. So we're going to have to rebuild those, and that's just going to add to the cost of this build. Okay, so it is early on Monday the 9th of December, so the day that this thing is being delivered. All the materials are going to be here in about 2 hours. I'm up nice and early, but I'm waiting for this van and I'm very excited. So thankfully we did manage to get everything in. It was a bit of a squeeze, but we got there in the end. So now we've got all the equipment out there. We're just waiting on the build team. The build process was actually pretty painless. It only realistically took 3.5 days, and this was also the point where the electrician came in and did the first point electronics. With the plasterboard up and the first point electronics in, it was time to get a plasterer in to get this place plastered, painted, and ready for use. Getting the plastering sorted was actually a fairly cheap job, only costing £600 from a local trader. It's probably also worth mentioning at this point that the actual building became a little bit cheaper. Basically, we were looking to add these ground pins to ensure that the property was going to be stable. That turned out wasn't necessary, so we ended up getting £1,500 back, allowing us to have a little bit more money to spend on things like electronics and getting the insides looking perfect. So that is the build complete. It's still looking rather bare at the moment. You can see we've got the walls plastered, all but one, and that's this back wall here, but I've got some big plans for that wall. It was then time to paint. I used this basic white paint over the plaster, which basically just did an undercoat, and then allowed me to choose the colour that I actually wanted. In my case, it was Urban Nights from a company called Wix here in the UK. Just 2 layers was all that was really necessary, and I absolutely love the results. It's dark enough that I've got the style that I want, but it's not too dark that it makes the room look gloomy. Alright, and we're done. After what feels like an incredibly long 2 months, we're finally pretty much there. This is a livable space and I am working in it right now. I'm going to give you a quick tour of it. Some things are obviously still due to change, like there's some paint issues here and there, but I'm super excited to show you around. Let's go. So obviously we've got the door here. It's the one source of natural light in this property. I am looking to add a blackout blinds. That way people aren't going to be able to see in, and I'll be able to really sort of control the lighting in here. As we look to the right, you'll see the work from home desk. This is the same desk I've had in the office for a while. The router is just sort of sat on the floor down there. Absolutely no cable management at all. Love to see it, love to see it. Obviously we've got the Mac and we've got the PC. Now, one thing I do want to add to this desk is a KVM, because it's really difficult to move between the PC and the Mac. I have to unplug HDMIs, I have to move stuff about. It's a right palaver. Next to that, we've got the little heater here. Now, this thing doesn't look like much, honestly, and I wasn't expecting it to do very well. It's from a company called Heiko. Yeah, wasn't expecting it to be very good at all. But quite honestly, this heater kicks out some heat. Like, I can run this for half an hour in the morning and it will heat the property for a good 5 or 6 hours before I'm to run it for about half an hour again. Moving on from there, we've got the glass cabinet that was up in the old office with all the Apple products and some of my favourite bits and bobs here and there. We've then got the TV and projector. The TV, I'm wondering about putting some kind of sofa on this side just to have a little bit of time to chill. This is where I'm going to be able to play some games, listen to some music, all of that good stuff. Then, of course, we've got the desk and that absolutely beautiful back panel here from the wood veneer hub. So on the left-hand side, we've got the coffee station. This is my Nespresso coffee station because, well, to be honest with you, I love Nespresso, and I think it's probably the easiest way to make a good cup of coffee. In the centre here is where a top-down rig is going to go. I've got it coming. It's a newer top-down rig and some lighting. That's coming soon, and I'll show you it when it arrives. We've also obviously got Dennis as well. This is Dennis's Viv. He's just been fed, so he's probably hiding right now. We've obviously got the studio lights as well. Eventually these are going to be mounted on the ceiling. Again, that's something that's sort of on its way. I'm hoping it won't be too long and I'll be able to ceiling mount these so that they're out of the way, because right now these tripods take up a fair amount of space. Alright, so there we have it. That's pretty much the whole space. Obviously there's a lot of smarts going on here as well. Everything's on a smart plug. We've got a door sensor. If you want a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of exactly the tech that's hidden in here, let me know in the comments section down below. And of course, way down there as well, why don't you get subscribed? Because it genuinely does mean the world to me. It allows me to continue to make these kinds of videos. This one was a lot of fun. I spent far too much time editing it and putting it all together, so I really do hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I hope it's giving you a little bit of inspiration as to how you could perhaps create your own office space similar to this one. Anyway guys, my name's Ben Roberts, this has been Bite Size Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.